Hi guys. First of all, I just want to apologize. I know that there's a background noise. That's the fan. I'm out in the garage and it's pretty hot and stuffy in here, so I had to turn that on. So you might have to deal with that for these couple of lectures. What we're getting into now is The Lottery by Shirley Jackson. It starts off on page 193. The book will tell you, if you look underneath on 192, when it's giving you a little background on Jackson, it will tell you to not read the story, because when it was published, it was associated a lot with speaking or some kind of commentary over the Holocaust, which it most certainly is or could be read that way. One question I ask my classes is, when she's commenting over or on the Holocaust to the story, there's, and as far as the Holocaust is concerned, there's really two main groups that were, in or active in the Holocaust or participated in that. I say participated. One group was the victim, and then the other was the aggressor. And obviously, the victim were the Jews, right? And the other group were the Nazis. The other group was the Nazis, excuse me. And I asked my classes, what in The Lottery, what would this story be about? What group would this be mainly about? Would it be more about the victim, or would it be more about the Nazis, the aggressors? And by and large, most students tend to say that it is about the victims, about the Jewish, and simply because most stories that we read or associated movies, all that stuff, it's from the victim's point of view, or from the victim's side. And Shirley Jackson obviously isn't taking a side. It's just a commentary and kind of discovering a point of view and a mindset. And this short story is all about the group versus the individual, group think versus individual thought. And Shirley Jackson here is looking at the aggressor in the Holocaust, the Nazis, but looking at it from that particular viewpoint, because this town in The Lottery, this town, surely they don't wake up every morning wanting and looking forward to stoning an innocent person, man, woman, or child. Just like, obviously, or one would imagine that not every single German or Nazi officer or Nazi soldier spent their entire lives wanting or looking forward to committing those atrocities on another group of people. What happens is that you basically get enough people to believe a lie. You get enough people to acting a certain way, and the individual will go along with them, right? The individual will lose, or maybe not lose. It makes it easier for the individual to step away from their own morals and values, or step away from their own individual thoughts and follow the group. And that's really what we're looking at here. But I mean, this short story has had people talk about the socialist or communist critiques that are in here, which again, of course, they are in here. Communism, socialism, that is when the community, when the group is more important than the individual, right? So if you've got to sacrifice, if an individual must be sacrificed for the betterment of the good, for the betterment of the group or for the community, then obviously that individual is sacrificed. And that's exactly what we see here. The book tells you to not read the story in such a restrictive manner and approaching it, strictly looking at the Holocaust, because you could miss something about commentary on socialism or communism. But as well, you will miss an even bigger picture, because again, Jackson is talking about the individual versus the group, and and questioning our willingness to give in to parts of our personality or parts of our human instinct that we may or may not be so happy to find, that we're easily or we're happy to let go. and perform vicious acts given the right circumstance. And so we'll get into all that in a little bit. Just looking at the story of itself, when the story opens up, it's during the summer, June 27th, when things are green, and summer is associated with life, and it's a very kind of romantic country town type of setting, type of image, which is a stark contrast to the events that take place in the story later on. At the end, towards the end of the first paragraph, it says the whole lottery took less than 2 hours, so it could begin at 10 o'clock in the morning and still be through in time to allow the villagers to get home for noon dinner. Again, it's the idea that the lottery really is not a big deal. I mean, it is a big deal, right? But to the villagers, to the town folks, it's just like going to the doctor to get a shot. It's just something you do, and then you go on with your day, paying a parking ticket or something. In the second paragraph, they talk about the children. Again, a kind of very idyllic countryside, romantic type image that we see. And the children are already gathering stones. And, most people imagine, as I did when I first read the story, gathering stones to go throw into a lake, skip rocks, or shoot a slingshot, not for what happens at the end of the story. Now, notice that there is not a date or a year. I'm sorry. There's not a year. There's not a time period that's specified in the short story, because the practice of stoning is a very, very old form of punishment, or public punishment, or capital, a very old form of capital punishment that dates back thousands of years. But in the story, they have men talking about tractors and taxes. And tractors are, in the scheme of human history, it's a relatively recent invention. And so the year, the day, the time period is not important, because her message, the question that she asks is timeless. It's about the human condition, and it applies to people that lived 1,000 years ago, just as it applies to people living now and will continue to live long after you and I are gone. The lottery at the bottom of 193, it says the lottery was conducted as were the square dances, the teenage club, and the Halloween club. They were in the town square, the center of the town. Again, we don't know what the lottery is yet, but once it becomes clear what it is, it's very disturbing where the lottery takes place, and how public and open it is. And also, you have that, you juxtapose that with the fact that this where there's square dances and things like that, probably where many husbands and wives have met and then eventually became married. So very nice, sweet place. There were also very horrific and terrible things take place. On 194, we get the introduction of the black box, the black wooden box, with Mr. Graves as well. And so, again, you have two characters, Mr. Summers and Mr. Graves. Graves, Summers. It's not a coincidence. It's not an accident that those are their names, as in Summer, Grave. Now let's look at the box. The box, it says that people spoke that of making a new box, because the box that they do have is torn and frayed and well, not torn, but frayed and tattered, and it's rumored that it was pieced together. Instead of building a new box, it's pieced together from an older box, the original box. And in reality, this is similar to Miss Emily in the sense of tradition, and that tradition needs to be torn down, right? The villagers here, they have a choice. They could make a new box, which would symbolize a new tradition, right? And a different lottery, or not having a lottery at all. But they don't do that. They kept pieces of the old box, the old traditions, like in Miss Emily that we talked about, that needed to be thrown away. And you can debate that they actually kept the wrong traditions, right? The old traditions that they did keep were the wrong ones, which is the stoning, because it says later that there was whispers, or there was talk of, there used to be a recital, some kind of tuneless chant that would happen before the lottery took place, And odds are that that recital of that chant might have had some, some lyrics or some insight on as to why people were actually having a lottery in the first place. But that got thrown away, or that got lost. But they did remember the stoning. So the box does represents the stoning. It represents the tradition and the clinging to tradition over something that we don't know why we do it, but we just do. And again, the fact that they could have kept other bits of the tradition, they kept the violence. They kept the worst part of the tradition, which we see, and we talked about with Faulkner and A Rose for Emily, how hard it is deciding what tradition should go or stay. When people are gathering, there's an incident where it says soft laughter ran through the crowd, like it's not a big deal. I guess Mr. Summers says